Tulloch, the CEO of Mendell Helium. Nick, great to be speaking to you. How are things?
Yeah, morning, Mark. All good, very, very good indeed. You will have seen this morning we've announced that we're now in production at Rost and filling tube trailers of helium.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look, because there were some pictures I think you've been putting around on the socials. So this is the tube trailer that we're looking at, presumably. I've not actually seen one like that before. When you said tube trailer, I was thinking ones we see in the UK, the big sort of singular tubes, but this is obviously specifically for gas transportation.
Yeah, it's I don't know why I always think it looks like the Starship Enterprise from this angle, but it's 8 tubes. It will take 160 MCF of total gas. So initially that'll be raw gas, and then as we sort of get the PSA up and running, it'll be a more concentrated helium mix. You can't quite see in the picture, but behind it is the compressor, which we use then to compress the gas into the trailer. The tube trailer will hold gas at about 2,500 psi, so it's a fairly high pressure environment.
Okay. And that's the gauge. Oh well, I guess as of whenever this picture was taken, of how full the tube trailer is.
That is the gauge. That picture was actually taken on Friday, so that's showing sort of just shy of 300 psi. And this is how we measure when the trailer is full. So when the needle gets to close to 2,500 psi, that's a full trailer. That's 160 MCF, and the trailer's ready to go.
Right, excellent. How long do you think that will take?
It will take a few days. The limitation is actually not the well. The limitation is the compressor itself. In this morning's announcement, we said the well is doing over 100 MCF per day at the moment. The compressor is actually the bottleneck. So that is the limiting factor as to how quickly we can get gas into the trailer. Once we have the PSA commissioned and we're putting less volume but a higher helium concentration, we'll actually fill the trailers faster. So the bottleneck at the moment is literally how much gas can you squeeze into the trailer at through a small gap.
Right. Okay. And before we talk about that, this picture here is that is sort of the connection to the compressor. Is it just quickly?
These are the connections. So the compressor is quite weather sensitive. It sits in essentially a shipping container, which was actually just behind the trailer in that picture. And then there's a series of connections with, well, as you'd expect in a high pressure environment, shut off valves and pressure gauges to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Okay. Well, that's good. That all makes sense. So just a few questions then. So you're saying that the main reason for the slow filling is because of the compressor, but as the PSA comes online and you can purify the gas a bit more, that means the compressor has to work less? Is that right? And then it can be more efficient?
It's a volume game. So at the moment we're putting the raw gas from the Rost well. So it's literally the wellhead, after going through separation of liquids, the wellhead is connected straight into the compressor, which is compressing the raw gas from the well. So we know there's 5.1% helium in the Rost gas mix. That's what's going into the trailer at the moment. So we are. This is not meant to be a negative comment. We're shipping 95% waste. Still worth doing because helium is so valuable. Once the PSA is up and running, we believe, and this will be sort of worked out when the PSA is going, but we believe the PSA will take the helium concentration to 75%. Could go higher, but then you start to suffer a little bit of loss, a little bit of leakage, basically. So we think 75% is the optimal number. So now we'll be shipping a tube trailer with 75% helium. Still exactly the same process. It's still being compressed in. But because to get to 75%, we are essentially cutting out some of the other gases, mainly nitrogen, we've now got less volume. And so we'll get that 75% in a whole lot faster.
Okay.
So there's, every process will work at the pace of the slowest, and our bottleneck literally is the bottleneck. How much gas can you push into the trailer at any particular time?
Okay, well that makes sense. And so as it's more pure, it means there's less volume, which means that it can push in obviously quicker. So the pump is not under spec then. It'll be fine once you get the PSA commissioned.
It's fine. We never designed the site to be shipping raw gas. As I say, it's economic because of the value of the helium, but really you want to be shipping more pure product. Or turn it the other way around, you want to be shipping a whole lot less waste. So what we're doing at the moment is just shipping the raw gas whilst we're waiting for the PSA to be fully commissioned. I mean, it's a huge electrician and software job to get it all sort of properly dialed in. Is the expression? I think, as you know, I'm naturally impatient, and we're certainly not going to be venting $1,600 of helium a day into the atmosphere. And so, if slightly, on a cumbersome basis, we're compressing 5% helium into the trailer, I would much rather do that than set fire to dollar bills in the middle of Kansas.
Right, I see. So so it's really just a decision that rather than throw away what is product that has value while you're waiting for the PSA, get some money in, albeit, what is it, around $2,400 when the trailer is full?
Yeah, when the trailer is full, we will get paid for the helium. There's no particular value for anything else that's there. It's 85% nitrogen. The very small quantity of hydrocarbons are really too small to be of any particular interest to the off-taker. So we're just expected to be paid for the helium in this instance, and that's why we're quoting 2,400.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, and then at the minute that the flow rate 107 MCF today, so that, as you say, is about $1,600 of helium per day. So some of that will be wasted, will it? It's not all being captured and going into the tube trailer.
No, it's all being captured. So I think when you and I spoke a few weeks ago, and I was actually on site, the gas was just venting to the air. But everything is now being captured. It's a sealed system. So unless we have to relieve some pressure, everything will go into the tube trailer. More importantly, the flow rate has been rising quite significantly over the last few weeks, and that's despite a very significant body of water still sitting above the pump. So we're absolutely delighted. I mean, really delighted with how this is going.
And do you know why that flow rate is better than you anticipated?
Well, I suppose what we always expected is there would be a steady build, and I don't know, I'm always drawn to sort of analogies, and you can get in your car and floor the accelerator and shoot off at 60 miles an hour and probably drive into a lamppost, or you can get in your car and gently accelerate, and when you get on the fast roads, really go for it. And that's always been the plan with the Rost well. It's been steadily take off an amount of water, understand the best result between the pump settings and the gas flow. And again, I think when you and I spoke a few weeks back and I was on site, we'd probably just around about that week settled on the right settings. So that maybe took us a couple of weeks, and then we've just watched the well build. I have to say, it's not all been plain sailing. The increase in flow rate we've had in the last 2 weeks, that is despite the fact the well was down for a little bit of time because we had a small pump maintenance issue. Which had a short in the motor that took a couple of days to address. So even with that, we're still seeing that very steady increase.
Okay, good. And is the well is it flowing at not its full capacity, but is it throttled a little bit at the moment? It
is heavily choked back,
right?
And very, very deliberately. Yeah, again, back to my car analogy. We're not trying to drive at 100 miles an hour on day one. We're trying to build a well that's going to be with us for many, many years to come. And so the objective is to steadily increase a sustainable flow rate. And that's exactly what we're getting. So we've seen a big increase over the last couple of weeks. That pressure is still building. So we are fingers and toes crossed. We're expecting a continued increase in flow rate. But this is about a sustainable performance. But it's you can only really talk about the direction of travel. But at the moment, everything is pointing in the right direction.
Okay, that makes sense. So just to be sure then, so the flow rate you can get is 107, but it is choked back, is it, at the minute?
No, sorry, the 107 is choked back. That
is what you've choked back. Okay.
That is what we're getting, but we've taken the orifice down on the well to almost as small as we want to go at this point. So it's a very deliberate, steady flow. We could open up all the valves and see what happens, and I'm sure it'd be fantastic, for about 3 hours, and then have to think how much water would have sort of flooded everywhere. So this is about just being sensible and building for the future rather than going nuts. And look, if being sensible is $1,600 of helium a day, I think we're okay with that. So we'll see how it builds going forward.
So the tube trailer will fill up pretty quick then at 107, yeah?
Yeah, it will. I say the limitation is the compressor. If we were not compressing, we'd be sort of straight into the tube trailer. But you want to compress as much as you possibly can into that trailer. So that's again, I suppose just using the bottleneck expression, the narrowest entry point in all of the settings is how much gas you can compress into a tube trailer on a per minute per second basis, and you'll only go at the pace of the slowest. Again, that's not said as a negative. It was never designed to compress raw gas. I mean, it works fine for raw gas, but the whole objective is to be compressing 75% helium, and at that point, the compressor is sized absolutely correctly.
And at that point, then, when you get to that 75% mix, that really transforms your economics, because the trailer value goes from $2,400 to, as you say, $36,000. So that's a significant increase. So that obviously you want to get done as soon as you can. So you sort of, what did you call it? The PSA commissioning. What did you say? What was it? Dial it in. You have to dial it in.
So the PSA is sort of an electrician's dream. I mean, there's just vast quantities of electrical cable, but it's also a software project as well, and it's about getting the right settings. Every gas mix is going to be different, but it's getting the settings correct, getting the electrical connections properly set up. It's mostly done, by the way. We've gone sort of most of the way through last week. There's a couple of extra parts we're waiting for, but would be very optimistic. It'll be up and running very quickly. But as I said, I'm not going to vent $1,600 of helium into the air. So we have to capture it as raw gas. We can still sell it profitably. And that's what we'll do. But in terms of the margins, once the PSA is up and running, that tube trailer is worth broadly 15 times more than it is now. So it's kind of 75% helium rather than 5%. Cost of transport still the same. It costs us $500 to get the tube trailer delivered to the off-taker. That will not change based on the content of the gas. So our margins rocket up once we've got that PSA in place.
That's good. So is that really the only cost, or I mean, I bet there's other things involved, I suppose. But
electricity is a big cost. We're running 2 pumps, 1 PSA, and 1 compressor. We're very fortunate at Rost. We have 3-phase power. So there's a pump in the Rost well itself, which is pumping out the water. There's a pump in the Broby disposal well, which is pumping in the water. The compressor we've mentioned, and the PSA we've mentioned. So there's an electrical cost of running all this equipment as well. And we also pay someone to come along to the well once a day just to make sure that nothing is leaking. There's nothing's caught fire. Nothing's making a funny noise. So the role is called a pumper. So for $1,000 a month, someone comes along and just makes sure that it's doing what it should be doing. And if it's rattling or fizzing or there's water on the ground, then he'll phone one of the engineers.
Right. Okay. So I mean, in terms of when the market can perhaps see the real economics, when you hope to be able to sort of communicate that, is that when you sort of get that gas mix sorted?
Yeah, well, there's really a lot to come. So there's the PSA, which will transform margins, but the well is not done yet. At 107.7, that was a measurement actually taken on Friday, late Friday last week. We're seeing the pressure increase, and so we are expecting that flow rate to continue to improve. Yeah, again, you never really want to sort of predict too much about geology, but what we've seen over the last few weeks is a steady increase day by day. It's still going up day by day. So you have to have a snapshot in time for an RNS announcement, but meanwhile, over on the ground in Kansas, that pressure is increasing. One of the photos we put out online this morning was just a screenshot of the pump screen showing the pressure. I think we put that in the announcement as well, as terms of how much water is sitting above the pump. That's actually increased over the weekend. So we are still building pressure in the well, and pressure is a good thing. This is what we're looking for.
Good. But just quickly, you said very quickly for the PSA, which is obviously nice. I don't know. I want to ask you when, but maybe you can't. Maybe you don't want to say just yet, and let's just watch this space. I don't know.
Well, it's an incremental process. I would be pretty confident that by within 10 days, it will be operational, as in it's a working PSA. There'll then be a period to get it, expressions dialed in, so making sure all the settings are correct. Let's add another week or two onto that. So it's feeling like, so by the end of November, we would have a fully functional working PSA. That would be a realistic. And I think it's better to be realistic in these things, but that would be a realistic target, I think, to have.
Okay, good. Thank you, Nick. And just news that's hot off the press, I see. Director Dealing, you've acquired some warrants, so 1 pence warrants. Just talk us through this. So you've bought those warrants, have you, for 86,000?
Yeah, I've bought just shy of 9 million warrants in the company. These are existing warrants. This is, I've purchased these. I've paid a penny for each warrant, so that's sort of the 86,000 that you see in the announcement. They came from a US investor, and I don't know what to say really. I feel very, very good about how the Rost well is performing, and it felt right and proper to put my money where my mouth is. So I'm pleased to take a bigger stake in the company, and looking forward to the future.
So this investor just wanted, to sell their warrants rather than exercise them. Is that the crux of it?
It's quite challenging for US investors to deal in UK shares.
Right.
So everyone's got their own requirements. So it's probably improper for me to go into too much detail.
Sure.
I think it was easier for this investor to have a private sale rather than work out how their local stockbroker can manage it. And
good.
I was happy to assist.
Well, glad it worked out for both parties. Well, Nick, thank you very much. That's really good information on what's going on. So as you say, more to come. So we'll just keep watching developments here on the PSA commissioning. And also, I don't know if you'd be able to show that. Do they still do checks in the US? Is that what you get when you get your first pay?
They still do checks. It drives me absolutely nuts. We have to write checks for our suppliers, and we receive checks for our supplies. So
there we go.
And generally by post as well, so it can literally take weeks.
Well, looking forward to seeing that first one, albeit small, but you've got to start somewhere. And of course, You've seen the scope of what can come. Nick Tulloch, thank you very much as always for your time.
Terrific. Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at StockBoxMedia.com. Thank you for watching.